We're going to call the meeting to order at 6:31 p.m. This is our joint meeting with the Dover-Sherborn Regional Committee, the Dover School Committee, and the Sherborn School Committee, which is being held tonight, and the Dover-Sherborn Middle School Library. So with that being said, do we have any community comments here or online?
Hi, Sally.
Nothing else? No? All right. So no community comments. We will move on then to the superintendent comments. Ms.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I apologize for the mask. This is week 3 of cold number 3, so building up quite the immunity. So I'll do my best to project, and if you can't hear me or don't understand, let me know. So the first update tonight is around the district and superintendent goals, which I had laid out to you in September, and now we are, believe it or not, halfway through the school year, and so I wanted to give you an update as to where things are. So we have 3 district goals. The one was still around best practices. Here we are 4 years later, still saying that these are the 9 practices we'd like to see in all of our classrooms, K-12. And we've done a lot of studying and a lot of professional development around them. And this year we decided that there is so much institutional knowledge and good things happening in the classroom that our first goal should really be about providing educators an opportunity to share amongst themselves. So for example, things happening at the high school, they've taken the entire faculty and divided them into 8 interdisciplinary teams. They're so often meeting as a math department and a history department. Now they're all split up. And for every faculty meeting, they're in their new groups talking about one of the best practices or a problem with practice. And they've really found it kind of insightful and enlightening to be with new people and to develop new relationships. And many of them have created goals together. So, team 1 might all have a goal focused on visiting each other's classrooms, which is great. The middle school has something similar as well, where they have teams working interdisciplinarily. Denny, in a little while, will talk about our full day of professional development on December 1st, which is when, right after Thanksgiving, we had all the teachers and you had all your students. And he'll talk about all of the sharing that happened on that day. So we'll put a plug in that for the minute. The second district goal was convening a district-wide data team. And so as you know, we've been using Open Architects as our data dashboard for a few years now, and it continues to be enhanced and to expand. Denny is great about keeping us updated anytime there is a new tool or a new way to analyze data. He often gets excited and comes running across the hall to give me an update. But we did a lot of work with the leadership team. Oftentimes we get busy and we say, we'll do it later, we do it later. We spent a couple of our leadership team scheduled meetings having educators or having the leadership team dig into the data dashboard. So we gave them the time and said, let's get in, let's get dirty, let's look at the data. We all looked at different topics. And then they were able to bring that expertise back to their teams in the building. Even Dawn had a chance to finally dig into the data dashboard that she pays for and was quite impressed with the level of information there. And then that leadership team also thought about this district-wide team, what should be the focus of it. And it's going to really be looking at trends across students within subgroups, and then developing goals and looking at professional development and budget needs based on those. And they identified the different roles and components the team should entail, including administrators, English language learning teachers, special educators, classroom teachers, et cetera. So second half of the year, we're going to start bringing that team together. As you know, sometimes goals last 2 years. So I have a feeling that is really going to kick off in the fall once we get some momentum there. The third goal is around safety and supporting our students in schools. So if you think back to the work in the summer, thanks to Kate McCarthy, our Director of Student Services, we now have one district-wide handbook that is uniform K-12 and updated. It also includes an FAQ and a bullying FAQ for people looking for additional information. We have an updated code of conduct that is current with the laws, current with the practices, and again shows the K-12 continuum of expectations and consequences so families can become familiar with it over time. We, with the help of parents and teachers, developed communication guidelines to make sure that our communication electronically, in person, over the phone is respectful. And then, as you know, we worked with law enforcement to hold 3 safety sessions with parents in the fall, and those were very well received, and hoping to do some more of those. Superintendent goals, I had 2. The first was looking at the best practices. And so if you remember in September, we talked about, how it's often easy to say, well, yes, I always have students collaborating in my class. Yes, I always have students reflecting on their growth in my class. But there's different levels of doing that. You can have kids do a turn and talk for 2 minutes, or you can have them running a Socratic seminar for the entire session. So really getting educators to realize, yes, you can do all 9 of these things at a surface level, or you can go really deep with some of them. And how can we start to push ourselves to the kids really owning the learning and running the classroom? And the second is taking the evaluation process, which, as you all know in your various roles, work gets busy, and sometimes you need to do the observation, do the write-up, do the formative, have the meeting, check the box. But instead of putting the onus on the evaluators to have to go in, write up all the notes, think of all the discussion questions, how can we really put the onus on teachers to think about what went well during their observations, where they need to grow, and have them really put the work in, just like we want our students to in the classroom. So they begin to own it and really think about themselves as practitioners. So we, thanks to Denny, he created a great goal-setting form for the teachers to use in the fall when they were setting their goals that really had them reflecting on their observations from last year, digging into their student data to see where and how they needed to grow. So they came up with the goals based on their profiles. And then we also created prompts and questions that we, as evaluators, could use with teachers after an observation or during goal session meetings to really get the teachers to think about next steps. So I have outlined the 5 goals for you with more detail of my action steps so far. I sent it to you via email, and as we approach April, that list will get longer with more evidence. But happy to take any questions or suggestions you have at this point.
Anybody?
I don't miss the days of the pandemic. Whew.
I know. It's very hot in here.
You forget.
One question. Are we doing another evaluation or
So my last contract indicated that my evaluation would happen at a minimum of every 2 years.
Right.
So during my first 3 years, it was annual.
Right.
Educators in our system are evaluated every 2 years, so I think it's up to goalie and the team to decide if we're going to do it this year.
Because we did one
or
last year, right? So we could step off. Because I was going to say if we were going to, I was going to pull these and have a thing with everybody who's new, because there's a lot of new people. But we may still just go ahead and prep them on something just for next year, because they'll have to do it then. So that's something, because those of us who have been here, it's a whole thing, and it's very not counterintuitive, and you don't understand it. Like when you get to, it's one of those things you have to get to the end of the book to understand what was happening in the beginning. That's kind of how the evaluation process goes. We have to go through all these steps, and then you kind of go back to the first one. So probably, even if we don't do that, I'm going to go through it with them. I might have an executive thing after one meeting, so that then for next year they're ready. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I would just recommend too that if you build upon it, right, it's much easier to do it. Even
It
if
is.
you put some notes in
Right.
this year, for those of you who are carrying on the next year,
Right.
it's going to make it so much easier.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
And that's the thing too, that's because she has listed out, so that's what I'm trying to tell you, all these superintendent goals, those are part of the things that we do in the evaluation. So it's good to pay attention and maybe check mark that in your notes, so then you go back, and that's one of the things that you can refer back to. It'll make more sense when we go through it all, but I will do a session about that after one of our meetings. It'll be quick. Anyway.
Well, and to Dawn's point, we could do a modified version this year, like, not the whole thing, but maybe part of
To
it.
capture.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so start thinking about that, and we'll prepare that for the next time. Okay. So is that it for you?
Nope. And then, so as Andy brought up the evaluation, so I'm evaluated not only on meeting the district and superintendent goals, but I'm also evaluated on the rubric for superintendents. And so there's 4 categories here. One is around instructional leadership, which is really a lot of my work with Denny, and looking at our district goals for teaching and learning, classroom visits, and supporting principals in their daily work. The second column is management and operations, and that's a lot of work with, obviously, collaborating with Dawn, looking at safety drills, the health and well-being of students, buildings, meals, the budget, personnel, hiring, all of those things. The third is family and community engagement, and that's communication proactively with the community. It's also responding to the community when there's questions, emails, concerns. And the last is professional culture, which, as you know, we're still working within our 5-year strategic plan, but that was created by all stakeholders. And then me bringing together the entire leadership team to make sure that we have the district goals and that the leadership team continues to take those goals to the school levels and work with educators. And of course, any conflict resolution that comes up. So I'll be giving you evidence of these things too. So I have goals, but then I have the day-to-day work, which is all listed in this rubric. And of course, I couldn't do any of this without Denny, Don, Kate, the principals, and the educators. So I want to recognize that all of the things you're hearing about is a team effort. And I just want to say, too, when Denny talks about the professional development on December 1st, I just feel like we are so lucky in this district to have the educators we do, because you'll hear about the workshops that they ran for each other. Okay. So general updates. In a little while, you'll hear about the instructional leadership model. As you know, we did a study on kind of, Denny and our department chairs, curriculum leaders. So we have a proposal for you to consider moving forward. Denny has been working with our elementary schools, so the Dover and Sherborn committees know very well that we've been looking at the time at our elementary schools and how best to use it to meet the needs of students, which are growing and changing, to meet the frameworks, which are growing and becoming increasingly rigorous. I'm not sure the negotiation team has the appetite to lengthen the school day. I'm not sure that would go over well. So how do we use the minutes that we have? So we'll continue to keep the Dover and Sherborn school committees updated, but that's been a lot of work this year. Just making sure that we are making effective use of the minutes and making sure that we also give kids time to play and time to reflect and all of those important learning aspects as well. The budget development, you've all been involved in that, and it continues. If you look at the calendar for February and March, it's going to be very busy a few months ahead. And so we're working on version 2 for all of the committees, which you'll see at your next individual meetings. And then negotiations, again, thank you to everybody who are serving on the negotiation team. We have our next meeting on January 21st, and that'll be the last opportunity for the DSEA and the school committee sides to exchange proposals. And then all of the proposals and ideas will be on the table, and we'll start to figure out how to move forward. So more to come on that. Lastly, I just want to recognize, you've all met Brandon Hall, our Director of Instructional Technology, and it was actually your idea, so kudos to all of you. When you said, there's so much going on the internet and with Chromebooks coming home, and how can we know that our students are protected in school, and do those same protections carry at home? And so you had said, wouldn't it be great if we did short videos, not 30-minute videos, but short videos on all of these topics? And Brandon has done that. He sent them out by a Parent Square. They're on the technology webpage if you want to go back and view them or review them. And he has also launched an online safety hub, which is linked to our technology page on the website, where there are tons of great resources on parental controls, social media, bullying, anything you can imagine. It's on our website. You can find it there, or there's the direct link there. So I just want to give a thanks to all of you for thinking about that, and I'm hoping that helps your lives and my life as a parent a little easier.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This is fantastic.
Yeah, truly.
So, all right, Mr. Conklin, you're up.
So my big update is our December 1st Professional Development Day. So to give you a little overview of what we did, so our theme for that day was all about sharing the knowledge that we have around this quote from Margaret Fuller, if you have knowledge, let others light their candles in it. So our objectives this year on our full day were to continue our work around collaboration and sharing, to get a better sense for all the work going on across the district, listening to colleagues sharing the ways that they're increasing student engagement, and then to be inspired by colleagues to take at least one new idea back to their classrooms. So in the past, we've had student panels, we've had outside presenters come in, and this year we decided that we were going to have all teacher-run workshops. I didn't know what the response was going to be when we put out the workshop proposals to teachers, and I was thrilled that we had 31 proposals for workshops on that day. So we ran 31 different workshops. I think some people co-presented, so we had over 40 teachers that were presenting their work, and I just want to give you a little bit of an insight into what that day was. So we did start out with a keynote from Eric Lawson. He's the Director of Technology for York Public Schools. He kicked us off by talking about AI in education, and we've kind of been tinkering around with AI tools the past couple of years, and now how do you move beyond just that exploration into application? So we talked about what AI can do for students versus what it can do for teachers. We talked about critical thinking skills. So how can you help a student look at an image and know that it is a fake AI image? Like, what are the skills, what are the critical thinking skills we need for AI literacy? AI is a tool to promote equity. So one of the things that he shared was the ability for teachers to make chatbots of their own. So if you are a student and you have a question about homework or something from school, a teacher can create one of these chatbots, and a student can basically have their own personal tutor to ask questions about or ask for clarification. So that's a nice tool to promote equity. We've been talking about this for a good number of years now, but the focus on process versus product. So the process of how you write a composition versus the actual final thing now with AI, how teachers need to focus on the process. And specifically, the two tools that he gave us an overview of are Notebook LM and Gemini Gems. Notebook LM still kind of blows my mind in terms of what it's capable of. Basically, you can upload as many different documents and resources as you want, and then the AI tool Notebook LM will summarize all of them for you. You can ask questions about any of the documents, and then on the side, students could say, make me vocabulary flashcards for all of this. So a biology student could take all of their notes from a unit, upload them up to Notebook LM, and say, make me flashcards for this unit. Create a study guide for me. One of the crazy things it can do is it can create a podcast from all of that. So if you just learn best by hearing, again, throw in all of your notes, and it'll create a podcast of two people talking about the topics.
It's pretty good though. It's pretty professional.
It's really, really neat. It can create infographics, it can create concept maps. So you just chuck all that stuff into Notebook LM. So our students, I know, are using this to study for tests, and then as administrators, we're using it when we have large bodies of research we're trying to look at and get summaries of. It's a really nifty tool, Notebook LM.
Can I just add to that, just to say how one level, that the podcast piece, you have the two voices speaking to each other knowledgeably about whatever information you fed it. You can actually call in to the podcast and ask a question or give feedback, and then it will respond based on what you said and adapt its conversation. It's crazy.
Okay, so being part of an AI solution implementation at my company, I come at it from a certain perspective, and as we've been implementing some of these tools, we've been recognizing the limitations of artificial intelligence logic, right, and realizing you need a person in the loop at all times. How are we making sure that Notebook LM is accurate? Because it's simply just a language recognition tool right now, right? Curious as to, and if we're coming up with any additional controls and teaching our students about that.
So that's where the AI literacy piece is coming in,
Okay.
and trying to work with Brandon as well as our technology teachers to now look at the K through 12 sequence and what do we put in each grade in terms of the AI literacy skills. So when do we introduce it, and then how do we kind of advance that throughout the different grades? So what is it going to look like in 5th grade versus in 8th grade? So we're trying to figure out all the different critical thinking skills. One of the things that Eric gave in his keynote was an example of a station rotation that he's used with both adults and kids to, if you need to really quickly all at once get a little taste of all of these various AI skills, from images to these large language models and being critical thinkers about that. So that's something that we are continuing to think about.
Thank you.
Definitely.
And isn't there a way for teachers to control to what gets dumped in to certain AI? I can't remember. I'm sure Eric talked about it. He talked about a lot of things.
It's one of the things that is developing faster than I can keep up with it. But in Google Classroom now, they're coming up with tools that will limit the ability for students to use AI in certain responses in Google Documents. But there's a new add-on that Brandon showed me last week that literally just came out. So it really is happening very, very fast.
Yeah.
Is there like any sort of AI, I don't know if this is maybe a little bit too soon, but strategy or any like policies and procedures yet, or is that baked in more broadly?
So we're in the process of creating guidelines for the district, both for staff and for students. So in 2 weeks, there's a team of educators and administrators from Dover-Sherborn attending an AI summit. And the goal of that 2 days is actually for us to leave with a roadmap for AI in the district and the set of guidelines.
The Department of Education has also created a online module for educators. It's not mandatory yet, but I did it just to see what it's like. And you can either do kind of the light version, which I think is 2 hours, and the heavy version, which is several more hours. But I thought they did a really nice job of working with teachers from our perspective and understanding how AI works and AI functions and giving us those warnings. And really, I think the takeaways, in addition to my certificate of AI understanding, and 2025 anyways, is that one, you know, the more specific you are with the information you give it or the prompt that you give it to help you with, and you have to have some expertise and some knowledge about what you're asking it to, because otherwise you will not be able to see the flaws. So asking it to do, you know, very general things about a topic you have no knowledge of it is not the way to go. So.
Are we allowing access on Chromebooks to ChatGPT? Like, can they just type it up and find it, or no?
So not to ChatGPT, because technically ChatGPT, you need to be 18 to actually engage with it. We haven't had a conversation yet about Gemini, which would be the one that we would use, and they've signed the privacy agreements with the Google Education Workspace. So that's a conversation we have to have as a leadership team. I don't think our staff are ready yet for the students to turn that on. But students do have access to Notebook LM right now, if they want to.
I was in a Spanish classroom last week, and the students were working in small groups on projects, and they could explore any sort of way AI might help with either learning or using a foreign language in the future. And so some were looking at, you know, how to use it to increase dialogue for students who don't get a lot of chance to speak in class. Others, I can't even remember, but it was great too, because part of the assignment too is where are the downfalls or where are the glitches at this point in time. So, I mean, our kids are learning faster than we are, but, and the older they are, the more aware that they are that it's unperfected yet.
Yeah, my experience has been, you're only as good as the data that's in the bot, right? So there are areas that you're not going to have consistent, reliable information, and it's just going to pull equally from all sources.
Yeah.
Right, so that's just, we got to make sure. That's why I like the Notebook LM a little better, but because you control what you're putting in.
Yeah.
And just like when I've been tinkering around with Gemini, like I can tell it's starting to tell me what I want to hear too.
It does, yeah.
So I think that's another piece of how we need our students to be critical, because it gets to know you and it notices trends in what you've been putting into it.
What's scary, especially with the Notebook LM piece, because you put in the stuff, there's all this other stuff that you didn't put in. So there's no kind of counter views at times.
True.
But I think then tries to make up counter views because you
Does
ask
it?
a question. Well, I think it's trying to please you. So I think there has to be a lot more like, what's the source for this every time? What's your source for this? So yeah.
Yeah, it's a good starting point, but to go
Yeah.
deeper, 100%. Sorry, I digress. It's a fascinating.
Right.
Well,
I mean, we have to figure it out.
Whatever you upload into it is now part of the knowledge base for everybody else.
Depends on
Gemini is good, because
Yeah.
we presumably have a business relationship with Gemini.
Right.
Yeah, you can have different. I don't know what that's a very good point. We have, yeah.
It
I'll
does
be
run-
curious as to another update on the AI implementation as we go forward. It doesn't sound like it's being immediately adopted, but because the privacy issues are abound. You're absolutely right.
It does remind me of when I first started teaching and Wikipedia just came out.
Oh God.
Wikipedia is not
But
a source.
I always told the students, like, go to the bottom of the references, see where the information is footnoted,
Yep.
check out those sources and evaluate them.
That's exactly right.
So it's kind of similar
Mhm.
to what we want students to do with some of the AI stuff. So we also talked about Gemini Gems. This is just some illustrations of it, but this is the way that it can be kind of a tutor for you. You can type in questions. One of the great things is that teachers can design these so that it will give students answers. It will ask them questions to help them check for their understanding and get eventually maybe to an answer. But you can kind of see that in action here in the animation. I took this from Eric's slides, but it's giving some diagrams, asking the student to answer questions about the diagram, which will ultimately get the student to understanding the concept without just telling them the answer up front. So that was the first part of the day. After that, we had teachers go and they did a wellness break. So we thought it was really important to kind of model for our teachers and let them have some time for personal wellness. A lot of our educators took some walks outside. We have one of our high school teachers that knows a lot about astrology and kind of did an information session for teachers on that. We had Pilates, a bunch of different activities for kind of the brief 30-minute wellness chunk. Before we dove into the workshops, so I'm just going to give you an overview of some of them. I'll pass out a full list of all of them because I really do, since it was our educators, want you to see each one of them. But this just highlights some of the ways that I threw them into some buckets. So this was some of the workshops that focused on student support. So Catrice Thoreau, our Pine Hill Adjustment Counselor, did one on creating informed interventions. We did one on further understanding the autism spectrum. So Dr. Alex Carroll, our SLP at Chickering. Melissa Feldman, a special ed teacher, did a really great session on how you can use Canva in order to help students with their executive functioning skills. There were ones obviously focused on AI and technology. So Noah Schultz, our high school computer science teacher, did one on Google Gemini. Amanda Leiden, another one of our high school computer science teacher, she brought in students that day, our wonderful students. It's really neat. They set up screens in the lobby and they were demonstrating all the programming projects that they were working on. So our educators were going and asking them questions about not only their projects, but about how are you using AI as a student? I also like that we had kind of the counter. So two of our high school English teachers did a session on how do we preserve and foster student voice in writing in the age of AI. So it wasn't like an anti-AI session, but it talked about how we can continue to foster those skills in our students. We had a lot of great workshops on music and art. This made me so happy when I was walking around. We had just educators working with our music educators playing music. So some people that had never picked up a guitar tried the guitar for the first time that day.
That's a good.
So you can see that we had a couple of music presentations, an art presentation on a project that our 7th grade students do on surrealist self-portraits.
What I loved about that too is not only did teachers pick up an instrument that they may or may not have ever touched before, but it reminded them what it's like to be in the seat of a student, where you're learning something for the first time and you're in front of peers and you're really, having that adolescent of I don't want to make a mistake. So it was a good refresher for them.
It's neat because a lot of in the middle school our students learn instruments, they make a song, so they did a mini version of that. So to see like the high school English teacher next to the elementary PE teacher next to the middle school librarian writing a song in an hour was just really neat. We had obviously a lot of workshops that focused on specific content and pedagogy. So we had one of our Chickering teachers and our math coach do a workshop on BBQ, which stands for Big Basket Questions, which is about math retrieval practice and strategies. Mike Sweeney, our fantastic TV and media teacher, did one on how you use perception to tell a story using video. We had one on the future of social studies and on elementary social studies. We had some that were very specifically on like the science of reading. So we had one on morphology activities for K-5 classrooms. And then we had a middle school science teacher that presented on what she refers to as the modern classroom, so how you can have blended, self-paced, and mastery-based learning. And then these I couldn't really put into categories, so I just labeled it other awesome stuff. Leah Lee, our wonderful high school Chinese teacher, did one called The Space Between Us, Listening, Speaking, and Truly Seeing Each Other. It was a really great, like, reflective session, and at one point, each of the educators got paired up, and they kind of just, like, looked at each other and talked with each other, and were trying to remain present and form connections. That session got really, really positive reviews, because a lot of people said, I don't often have that time to just sit down and to reflect. One of the really cool ones was our L teachers put together an immersive gallery walk of our multilingual learners. So I covered up with little circles the pictures of our students, but it was really neat. They had photos of our multilingual learners, and then next to it was pieces that they wrote about what they wanted educators to know about them as multilingual learners. It was really, really powerful. And then we even had a workshop demonstrating our women's self-defense class that we offer at the high school as well. Some of our teachers got to participate in that. So it was a really, really productive day. This is my 4th year planning one of these full-day professional developments, and I think this is the best one we've had so far. I got a lot of positive feedback. I got one email from a teacher that just said, today, copy and paste for next year. It was a great day. And I was just like, this is fantastic. But as Superintendent McCoy said, it really does highlight the strong educators we have, all of the ideas that they bring to the classroom. And teachers were just so excited to get to know what somebody else was doing in a different discipline or in a different grade level. So that was the day.
And was the call to action just if you something you want to present on, submit it? There were like it was pretty free, and this is what the teams came up with.
Yep.
We didn't have to pay them extra or barter anything. It was amazing. And I would say, this is my 9th year in the district. To see these workshops, and they're so relevant, and just teachers taking risks and trying new things and trying to be, present in the 21st century. I mean, I was just blown away. I don't think you would have seen these topics. I know you wouldn't have seen these topics 10 years ago, so it's really cool.
The handout was just a list of all of the workshops. But again, hats off to our fantastic educators.
Anybody, any other questions? Comments?
Will be worth having the kids stay home after Thanksgiving for one more day.
Yeah,
Totally.
No,
I have a request that you tape it so the parents can also watch it.
I was like, I want to go.
Parents would probably be a
Seriously,
hit.
for some of them.
Not a bad idea.
Well, thank you, Denny. Thank you, Superintendent McCoy. I think it's really great that you all give them their voice to express what they want to participate in and to teach each other. And I also appreciate how they become energized by your ingenuity to push this forward. So thank you.
Oh, and the last thing I should do is also mention and thank the professional development committee that helped me with it. So it wasn't just me, but a team of teachers that volunteered to be part of this committee that helped plan the day.
Well, I think between what we now have for our technology on the website to help parents in that, you all might have a cottage industry going here. So that was really good. Thank you. Okay, so next we move on to the proposed changes to the school committee norms.
Sorry, I have one more.
Oh, you have one more?
This is going to be one you probably want to stand up and stretch before we
Oh,
dive into this
gosh.
one.
That doesn't sound good. Very
No,
ominous.
it's been, Dawn has been saying we've been talking about this for years. Finally, something's coming of it. But one of the district strategic goals, actually it's in the slides. You've heard about this in the fall at your individual meetings, how we were looking at department chairs, PLC leaders, curriculum leaders, and how can we get more support K-12 so there's not just one Denny with 13 grades and 8 subjects. So here's our proposal. Ready? Okay, so our vision is that we have a relevant curriculum, that our instruction is student-centered and they're doing the hard work of learning, and that our assessment is authentic and that it means something and this information sticks with kids for a while. So in the strategic plan, there was a goal, examine the current leadership model to ensure adequate instructional support to achieve the district's vision, which you just saw, for 21st century teaching and learning. So we did this study with Athena. I won't go into depth, but remember it was 3 parts. We had focus groups. We interviewed anybody and everybody who would speak to us. We looked at literature, what is best practice in terms of, supporting teachers in the classroom, and then we looked at the comparable districts we always look to for help and advice. So what we learned is that teachers with leadership responsibilities have a bigger impact than administrators in moving their peers forward. When we have coaches in the classroom supporting teachers on an ongoing basis, that's much more powerful than having a one-day professional development and hoping teachers change and improve because of it. That when we invest as districts in training and give teachers time and give them feedback, that's really what moves the needle. That everybody in the district agrees the supervision and evaluation system needs to improve, which is why we're adding in more reflection, and that there is a critical need for K-12 vertical articulation in all of our subject areas. So we talked to everybody. So big themes, I won't go into everything. What we heard is that at the elementary level, PLC leaders play an important role. So there's one PLC leader for each grade at each school, who are kind of the grade level leaders. They're important. Specialists don't feel like they're kind of yet part of that, so we need to figure that out. All subjects would benefit from curricular alignment. Coaches are super valued, but they are pulled in far too many directions, and they can't do it all well. And of course, coaches should not be part of the evaluation process if they're helping you grow and learn and you're being vulnerable with them. Totally agree. At the middle school level, we heard that our curriculum leaders, so we have a curriculum leader for each of the departments at the middle school: English, Math, Science, Social Studies, World Language. We have shared department leaders with the high school for art, wellness, and technology and engineering. And then at the high school, we have department chairs in English, Math, Science, World Language, and history. At the middle school, we heard that the curriculum leaders, they teach 5 classes, just like everybody else. And then they have to do this work in addition to it. They don't have enough time to be working with their colleagues and getting into classrooms to help. Some are interested in having that opportunity to actually get in classrooms and support their peers. They'd like some training. They didn't go to school for supervision, evaluation, administration, so would love to have some tools for coaching. And they don't want to become administrators. They want still teaching responsibilities, so I think that's important to keep in mind. At the high school, we heard similar things. We heard, even from some of the people at this table in the fall when we talked about this, that department chairs are seen as invaluable by their department mates, and they're often the best teachers in the building in many cases. That the role of department chairs has expanded over time, and so they probably need more time or more money to be able to do their work. That educators appreciate getting feedback from their department chairs, but they're also at the end of the day a peer, so sometimes constructive feedback isn't necessarily readily available or accepted. Department chairs would like feedback on not only their role as a teacher, but also as a leader, so getting that from administrators would be great. That the needs of the middle school and the high school are different. So there was the idea of, do we have 6 through 12 department chairs? Would that help with the alignment? Everybody said no. They want access to their instructional leader, so they don't want to say, oh, they're at high school today, I can't access them as the middle school teacher. And I was a middle school teacher too. As you know, middle schoolers are a very specific type of student. Some would argue high school teachers don't get that. And it was clear from our educators they felt that way too. So what are we trying to do with all this information? We want to make sure elementary coaches have the time and the focus and the energy just to focus on practice and not everything else. They were super helpful to Denny during the math curriculum rollout. We have a literacy rollout coming. They need to be in the classrooms. They can't be mini Denny's. Compensation, these roles are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So how do we give people time or money to appreciate that? Again, we want access to people who understand our clientele. Training would be helpful, feedback on how they do their leadership roles in K-12 alignment. So our theory of action, how are we going to accomplish this? So if we invest in job-embedded professional development, ongoing professional development for all of these people and all of our educators, and align our programs, then we think we'll meet the mission and vision of a relevant curriculum, student-centered instruction, and authentic assessment. So we looked at 3 models. This is a lot of writing, but you'll get the gist. Again, those are our aims on the left. So we're just going to see how many boxes we can check with the models that we developed. So at the elementary level, we wanted to refocus our coaches. And at the secondary level, compensation for our instruction leaders' time, access and expertise to people within their buildings, training for them in their roles as leaders, feedback in their roles as leader, and an ability to align things K-12. So idea number 1 was we have secondary department chairs, grades 6 through 12. It could be a middle or a high school teacher, and it got cut off, but we were thinking instead of teaching 5 courses or 4 courses, they would teach 2 or 3. So they would have to give up time with students, which was not popular. So what does this get us? It gives them time away from kids, but with adults. Some training could happen during that time. They could get some feedback from principals, as principals are able to give that feedback, and then there would be alignment 6 through 12. That's a step in the right direction for science, social studies, English. What it doesn't do is address the elementary piece for the coaches. There's no financial compensation. They're stretched across buildings, so they're going to be reporting to either a middle school or high school person, which they may or may not be. Teachers really want to be, these leaders still want to be teachers most of the time. They don't want to become administrators. So the idea of the time piece wasn't, they'd rather the compensation. And it doesn't address K-12. It only addresses 6 through 12. So idea number 2 is we give the department heads and the curriculum leaders more time. So they would go from teaching 4 out of 5 at the high school to teaching 3 out of 5. So a little bit more time, but not taking them away from the classroom too much. And at the middle school, they would have gone from teaching 5 out of 5 to 4 out of 5. So some relief with time. What does that gain us? Time, building level expertise, some training, some feedback. But again, no relief for the elementary folks, no financial compensation. People still want to be teachers, and it doesn't address the K-12 problem. So idea number 3. Give them additional compensation and support. So department chairs would continue to teach 4 out of 5 sections. and we'd increase the stipend that they get to do their work. Curriculum leaders at the middle school would get relief of one section finally, so some time, which they have none of at this point, and increase their stipend for doing this work. And there would be 2 K-12 curriculum coordinators. There'd be one STEAM coordinator who would do science, technology, engineering, art, and math. There'd be one humanities that would do social studies, English, world language, and probably music, performing arts. That checks all of the boxes. So they would report to Denny, and they would work with PLC leaders, the curriculum leaders, and the department chairs in their little silos to make sure that everything is aligned. Denny has done incredible work. There's only so many projects he can do at one time, and there's a checklist of things that I started 9 years ago, and more that Denny have added to it in the last 4, that one person is just never going to get to without all this support. And if we really want to see the 21st century learning in the classroom, the relevant curriculum, the student-centered learning, the authentic assessment, we need more help. It's kind of like AI. The longer we wait, the farther away from it. We'll be talking about the 22nd century soon and still be stuck in the 20th.
Right.
The big concern
Okay.
is you got to create 2 positions to find the money for it. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You finish, because I was going to ask a following question.
Yeah, so we think we found the solution. We just need to find the money tree.
And right now, there's no compensation, or is there? There is compensation.
They get stipends. So it's a very complicated thing. So they'll get time. The middle school people will finally get time. The department chairs get the same time, but the stipends that they had been getting will be increased by like 30%.
I'm just running a little slow today. Apologies. The help to the elementary school comes in the form of the 2 additional folks, or
The K-12 curriculum people.
Okay.
So the work that we've been relying on them to do around finding new curriculum, implementing new curriculum, teaching the teachers how to implement the curriculum, looking at data, would then fall to the K-12 staff or K-12 humanities person.
Then elementary school folks just keep on supporting themselves
in their grade levels, which is what they want to do.
Right.
Yeah, they weren't
Okay,
asking for time or money or more leadership. They just don't want to do it all.
When would you want it to roll out?
9 years ago. I know, as soon as possible, but we need to be realistic too as we talk about the budget. So we'll have to wait and see. So just to give you an idea, we don't have to get into the weeds here, but we really tried to look at middle school and high school department chairs would really have very similar roles. And then you would have the curriculum coordinators taking some things off their plate and really helping create that vision for the K-12 programs, aligning the programs in terms of what curriculum we're using, what resources we're using, doing the curriculum reviews. They would coach all of those people to make sure that they, are being effective with teachers that they're working with. They could lead or help collaborate on professional development so people aren't doing that on their own in a vacuum. Look at data more readily. We talked about the district-wide data team. There's a reason it's January and hasn't got off the ground yet. We're stretched too kind of thin to make that happen, and to maintain currency in the field. All of our department chairs and curriculum leaders want to know what's current in math, want to know what's current in literacy, but when you're teaching 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 5 and doing the job, there's just no time. So these people can know what's happening in the field and bring it back to us. And then support with hiring and those kinds of things. And, thank you, Martha, for bringing up that point. All of these things would be true, too, at the elementary level so that the coaches could really just focus on teaching and coaching teachers.
If you can go back one, if you don't mind.
Yep.
So I love a good, SWOT analysis, pros and cons, all that. How did the column on the left, where did that come from? And other than compensation and time, how was it determined where the X's go?
So those were all things that we realized were quote-unquote problems or areas that needed to be addressed based on the study that we did, what we heard from our DS teachers, what we learned other districts do, or what we heard research says is important in order to make change in the classroom. And then based on the models that we came up with, we said, okay, well, if we had department chairs that were 6 through 12, which of those things would get addressed? And you see, they get more time to do the work. There's nobody to really train them. Denny sometimes, feedback principals sometimes, but they're already stretched with feedback for their educators to begin with, and the alignment would only be 6 through 12. So we really looked at each of the models and said, what problems do they address? And those were those X's or notes came in.
We tried to be realistic about the 3 options on the top, because in a perfect world, we would have a K through 12 social studies, a K through 12 English, a K through 12 math, but for a district our size and with our capacity, that's just not realistic.
So that's where this comes in. So if you look at our comparable districts, the ones that are similar to us in size-ish are at the top. If we were Wellesley or Lexington or Needham, we would have what Denny has, which is a K-12 English, a K-12 science, K-12 math, and then probably one in each building too. That's not realistic for a district our size. So if you look at the top section, you'll notice that Holliston has a curriculum leader, one for each school, and they have 4 schools. I hope it's working well for them. I'm sure it's working well for them. What I don't love is when you get to the middle and high school and subjects become so specific. You have one person doing all the subjects. I'm not sure. But, I wish them well. Hopkinton has a K-5 math person, a K-5 literacy person, and a middle school ELA person in addition to their assistant superintendent. And then they have department chairs at the high school who run their departments. So they have 3 of these curriculum coordinators. Medfield has a K-5 math and a K-8 literacy that report to the assistant superintendent, and then the department chairs report to the assistant superintendent. So they have 2 in their district. In Wayland, they have a K-12 ELA and a K-12 math. And in Weston, they have 1 elementary each of English, math, and combined science, social studies. They have 3. So Denny and I initially started with the idea of 3. We would have 1 at the elementary level, coordinating between Pine Hill and Chickering across all subjects, because that is possible at the elementary level. And then we were going to have a 6 through 12 STEM and a 6 through 12 humanities. We took a step back and said 3 is a lot to swallow financially. Why don't we try it with 2, which is the least that our comparables have had 4 years. And ideally, instead of just doing literacy and math, they could pick up the other subjects too. But clearly, depending on the needs within the district, some subjects would take, kind of a front seat in any given year, such as the literacy would year 1 with our humanities person for the elementary stuff. Yep.
Does this complicate your organizational structure in the district? So would these people be reporting directly to Denny? Does this add essentially another layer of management between teachers and you guys, or how does that work?
They would report directly to Denny, and they would kind of work alongside the principals. And so right now, we talk about at the building levels, we kind of have a triad, and we talk about how they have to figure out how to do the dance between the 3 of them. You have the principal, the assistant principal, and the special education coordinator, and they've learned whose responsibility is what. This would be kind of the person who understands the teaching and learning aspect the best, and who can bring the K-12 perspective with Denny to each building. So it adds a layer, but I think it actually would help clarify and make things simpler.
I don't know if this is the time, but when you add compensation and then chairs, and you're hitting it from the ground floor, it may be the best opportunity to set term limits or expectations for duration, because I work in an environment of department chairs, and you get power plays, you get people trying to stay, and that hurts the morale of the other people who are more aspirational, and you will have a talent drain. So if you're my just advice is, if you're starting something like this, if you set an expectation of a term limit with one, then you are keeping them on their toes for best practice, and you're not fettering aspirations of people within the department for their brain drain. So it's better to do it now than to do it afterwards and it seem punitive.
Yeah. The good news is for all of the positions I mentioned, the PLC, the curriculum, and the department chairs, not the curriculum coordinators, because those would be administrators K-12. Those are all 1-year limits. Okay. In theory. They're assigned every year. But generally, when you become the department chair, you stay the department chair. But having this extra layer would, Denny meets with all of these folks 3 times a year to set goals, to check in, and then to see how the year went and start planning for next year. These people would be readily available to provide support. So there'd be less room for some of the things that you mentioned.
And is part of the concept of hiring these as administrators to address the constructive feedback challenge identified, where these are not peers, they're administrators, it removes them from the complexity of the teaching environment, but they are available and on site.
Absolutely. Yep.
Is this a new person you want to bring in, or someone elevate? Sorry. district?
It would be open posted, so people internally are invited to apply. I'm not sure anybody would be interested. Maybe they are, and we don't know. I think most likely it'll be somebody from the outside, and as you know, it takes time to develop relationships and learn the culture and learn the curriculum. So there's not going to be like huge change and shifts in the first year. It would take a while to get there, but I do think someone with some leadership experience is going to be important, and a fresh perspective is important too.
With the reduction in number of sections taught, does that have impact on class size, or how do you just drop a class from each of these?
Great question. So you'll hear this too when we go back to our individual committees and talk about budgets. So so when you think about the elementary school, for those of you who sit on the school committees or have sat on the elementary school committees, you know what we do is we take the number of students in each grade every year, we roll them up, look at the class size that we aim to get of 18 to 22, and figure out how many sections we need. Sometimes we need an extra section, so we have to hire someone new. Sometimes we have too many sections, and luckily we'll take care of, but usually we take advantage of a retirement and just say we're not going to rehire for so-and-so who's retiring, which means that we don't have to say to one of our educators, I'm sorry, we don't have a place for you, right? That's the goal. At the middle and high school levels, the middle school, as you know, works in teams, right? So you want the same group of teachers teaching math, science, English, social studies to this group of kids, and then you have your second team. That complicates things because if you have two teams in a class of 180 and two teams in a class of 140, your class size is going to vary. The high school, we did an analysis of our space a couple years ago, and one of the things that the consultants noticed when they were looking at our classrooms and the number of classes we run is we're a tiny district, but we run multiple classes in computer science. We have run multiple levels. I mean, our kids have access to just about everything they want to here in a tiny school. So when you start chipping away at sections, you start chipping away at those opportunities. However, our enrollment has started to decrease, and that's been happening. So there's been some wiggle room where we do think we carve out some sections for the middle school. Looking at enrollment over the next 5 years, it's decreasing again. So we think we're at a tipping point where we have some wiggle room to say, well, every kid takes English 9, every kid takes US 2, or World 2. We might be at the point where we can start to eliminate some positions and take advantage of some retirements so that we're not having to rip any teachers. So yes, there's wiggle room. In fact, there's more than that, which is going to help us solve the budget problem that we'll be talking about.
Earlier, you talked about having a more complex model that sort of modeled what they do in the Wellesley School District, and then you talked about how you guys slimmed it down for ours. My question with that would be, what would the advantages of theirs compared to a slimmed down model? And then a second question I could throw on top of there is quality cheaper in the long run? As in, we try to absorb something bigger and a little bit more complex and more costly, but would be more beneficial for us instead of having fewer people who could potentially run easier, having more people who could be able to get further in depth into their specific areas.
Well, I think that's exactly it. So when you look at a Wellesley, I mean, the number of teachers that they have and the number of kids that they have enough sections where it makes sense for them to have one English person and then really just to focus on English. In our small district, you talk to all of us, we all wear multiple hats because we're smaller. So I think it is fair to say that a humanities person can probably look at and oversee three departments because there's fewer teachers in those departments. So I think it's just a scale and size issue. I don't think you're necessarily giving up the expertise. I think right now the stretch and the inefficiency is that we have one person trying to be the expert for all of that. And you think about how well the rollout of the elementary math curriculum went. I mean, that went really smoothly. We didn't see a dip in our MCAS scores. The instruction that you see in the classroom is fantastic. That's Denny and the coaches and the principals that did that. Now, if you think Denny's looking all towards elementary math for 2 years, who's watching everybody else? And who's supporting everybody else? And that's where we're saying we need some additional folks.
I guess
other districts have had them for years.
Yeah, I guess a practical question. So we did the change at the elementary school. So reveal math now. You have the fifth graders who are current fifth graders will be the first entering the middle school coming off of that curriculum. What actually is the receiving end in sixth grade? Are we following reveal through?
We're in the process of our curriculum review for middle school math. So that's the process where we look at the current curriculum resources, the curriculum maps, and reevaluate
But so
them.
for next year, the current fifth graders will just revert back to what the sixth grade currently has. Because I mean, curriculum review takes some time, so you're not planning on changing anything in the sixth grade for next year.
I don't know if I can say definitively.
I'm
Yes, sir.
I'm just thinking practically,
Intriguing.
like timing, it takes some time.
Yeah,
I mean, we're great if it
looking-
could, like, but
So
I'm just
we're-
wondering, because it's gonna be a little bit different than prior experiences, because they were coming off of similar, consistent curriculum.
One of the beneficial things we had last year is during our full day of professional development, not this past year, but the year before, which was all elementary math for the whole day. We had our middle school math department come down and spend the day there, so they got a good feel for what the curriculum is going to look like. This year, we've been tapping into various resources. Some of them have been the middle school version of Reveal. Desmos is another program, just to supplement what they have so that we can kind of, like you mentioned, receive those kids kind of where they're coming from. But we're, again, in the process of revising our curriculum maps in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade math anyways.
And I think that a great example of that is, you know, and you all have heard me say it because I've lived it too. It's like spinning plates. So Denny is focusing on an elementary math right now, and he's working with the middle school to kind of get ready for the fifth graders who are moving up. He's also working with the middle school history department to get them to adopt the new investigating history curriculum. At the high school, he's getting the history teachers to look at world history and say, what can you drop to me so we can actually get to the year 2025. But he'll spend, you know, 2 hours here and 2 hours there, and then it's 2 months before he can get back to them. So these projects could happen a lot faster if there were more hands on the ground, and it would decrease the amount of money that we have to pay for consultants to come in and be the experts when Denny isn't available.
Yeah, I mean, that's proving the point, right? That all the questions you're asking is proving the point that we need these additional resources. Okay, this is helpful, thank you.
So this is what we think is realistic. We're not going to aim for 5. We're not going to aim for 3. We think we're going to try with 2 and do the best that we can to make it happen. We do have room to take our current staffing and make this work. And you know, some will say our kids are doing great. They're still going to all these incredible schools. They don't need this. They are doing great, but I do know that the curriculum could be better. I do know that the assessments could be more authentic. I do know that they could be doing more in the classroom that they're doing. And if that's what the community wants, we can make it happen. If we want status quo, that's fine too. So 3 things are true. 1, we want to remain a top district and have the best for our kids. 2, we have decreasing enrollment, so we should take advantage of it now, where we can scrub some money here and there and make these things happen. And 3, both towns are facing really difficult budget years. And for those of you who aren't in the know yet, Sherborn is looking at a $650,000 deficit in their town budget and possibly an override. So how you make all those 3 things happen at once, we need to figure out between now and March.
Great, but Dawn's gonna come forward with a great proposal on all of that.
We're gonna have 9 curriculum.
With some hard choices, I think that we can do it.
I have faith in you.
And I believe, like I have been sitting here listening to this. This is our opportunity to do it. And
Yeah.
Dawn doesn't say yes to often.
No, I know.
She really doesn't. Either that or she has a winning lottery ticket she's not telling us about.
But I think we
Yeah,
need to move.
Yeah, I know, I agree.
We need to move up. I go back to, for those of you who are in school committee, when Dr. Keogh was here and Adrian Hill was the chair of Dover. I just remember him telling Andrew during his evaluation, be bold.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Make bold decisions. That's what I told that. Like, let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's figure it out and let's do it, because we've talked about it for too long.
And it's data driven,
Yeah.
right? That's why I love about it. It's fully researched, data driven. It's a fully baked proposal, pros, cons, so.
And it's
kudos.
working in other areas, in other
Exactly.
districts.
Yeah.
It's not, we're actually not being bold. We're not the first mover.
Right.
on
We're bold
this.
for us.
We're not the first mover. Like
Sometimes
people are
we're
using it.
sometimes we're ahead, sometimes we're behind.
I call it admiring the problem instead of just looking at it and going, yes, this is a problem, and we admire it until it's still a problem. I'd rather just do something about
Right,
it.
that's fair.
Yeah.
Okay. There's no ask of us today, right?
No, not unless you want to start collecting donations.
Or buying lottery
Which
tickets.
we can't accept anyway.
Yeah.
Looking at costing.
So we estimate that each of the positions would be, you know, to get someone with experience and to be able to work alongside our principals and Denny, probably $140,000 each position, so $280,000.
With the
Across-
goal to hire them to be in place for the fall, if possible.
Ideally, yeah.
July 1st. And it's shared across the 3 districts, so.
Right.
The trend you mentioned of enrollment decreasing, is that because kids are going to private school? Is it just census?
Just census. Yeah, and everybody is facing that in Massachusetts and across the country. It's everywhere.
It's expensive.
It is.
The
You're right.
kindergarten is huge though because the pandemic babies are now 5.
Yeah.
But across the state, they just released a report that enrollment's down 15,000 across the state. So it's everybody.
It's true.
But that's public enrollment, because there is an uptick in private, but I think in Dover
But-
specifically, it's
but-
census driven.
Exactly, but still is also, if you look at the census of available students, it's also down.
So thank you for listening to all of that. It has been years of discussion and 2 years of a study.
Yeah.
And this is the culmination. And there has been so much feedback and input from all of the stakeholders that I feel like Denny and I can sit here safely that our tires aren't going to be slashed for coming up with this. So thank you for giving us the time to listen to all of this work. It was a lot of work.
I was waiting for the slide with the money, but it sounds like.
It's gonna come next
Yeah, I know.
session.
Yeah.
That's separate
I
budget
mean,
meetings.
It's also, it looks like just moving around some stuff.
Yeah, and taking, advantage of retirements, because we love our educators, I mean, look what they can do, we don't wanna have to say, but if there's a retirement and, we don't need, this many sections of English anymore, or world history, it's like, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
well, either that's money to reduce the deficit or money to put towards this.
How many upcoming retirements are you seeing? Do you have that?
Well, we won't know definitively until February 1st, right now, Chickering has 2, Pine Hill has 2, and the high school has 5,
Ooh.
theoretically.
The region.
The region, sorry, so they could rescind and change their mind by February 1st, but that's what we're looking at.
And they're all different positions.
Yes.
Yeah, gotcha.
So there's money there to be reallocated in some ways.
And is that a higher, like, is this more teachers retiring than what you normally see, like, year to year, or does it like ebb and flow, or is it?
Kind of ebbs and flows. I mean, I think at the region, it's a little higher than normal,
Okay.
so it's an opportunity. The elementaries is kind of status quo.
With the elementary, usually 1 or 2.
Yeah, usually.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
And you did mention that this would offset the consulting dollars, so could that be a funding source as well? That's great.
Yeah, and there'll be some programmatic changes too that we'll roll out in the next week. So it's not just about positions; it's about making some tweaks here and there too.
That's great, this is exciting.
If I could add one question. So Mr. Smith was mentioning about 2 new courses or in the high school, robotics and cybersecurity. So I'm thinking you'll be then hiring new people for that. This is not going to clash with that. It's a different.
No, he's going to be, I think, making some shifts in terms of who's teaching what. So I do think that there's a possibility that one of our current teachers will teach robotics, which is exciting because we've been talking about that for years and buying equipment for years, and we're ready to go. Cybersecurity is new to me, so but I love the idea, and we've talked about big data courses too. So I love the fact that the high school is thinking about those, and they'll be much easier to implement when you have somebody who can help do that. And we do, as a small school, need to look at, if we do want to offer all of these really relevant, incredible classes, maybe we offer them once a year or once every other year and make sure that juniors and seniors have access. So there's ways to make it happen. We have to think creatively.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, well,
Thank you.
Thank you. That was a lot.
That wasn't too painful, though. I thought it was going to be much worse than that, so thank you. I had a deep
Budget
inhalation of
conversations
breath.
are gonna be
That's what I thought. I thought, oh no, are we doing this already? I was not prepared. Okay, so there are proposed changes to the school committee norms. This is a first read, so we have to do 2 reads and then we adopt it. So if you read through, when was the last time we did school norms? It's been,
We usually look at them in September, and the last version was approved in 2022, and
Yeah.
it's just kind of rolled forward. And this year, there was conversation at
Right.
the September meeting of some additional ads, and so in looking at what the Massachusetts Association of School Committees recommend and other districts use, that's where the redlining came in with
Right.
these additions. And I know I passed this around to the chairs, and this is an opportunity for everybody to weigh in.
right. So if you read through, if you have any questions, the red line is kind of the new information. And when it talks about policy manual, that's the policy manual that we're currently updating. And so we have an updated ACAB if you look in, that's bullet point number 1, 2, 3, 4. So I guess probably I should send that out to them too, just to make sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure that reference is needed, because if you look at what the changes are, it's simply making very clear distinction between when we're acting as parents and when we're acting as elected officials on the committee. That clarity, I think, is probably needed.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
I'm very supportive of this. I think
Yeah.
just spelling it out
Yeah.
is
It's
really
very helpful.
important. Thinking about even saying the words, like, I'm putting on my parent hat now,
Exactly.
Right.
is something I think we all need to be really
Right.
aware of.
So if you all have any additions or things that you want to discuss, or if you want to take anything to your chair, and then we can bring it back if there's something to change.
I also really appreciate, though, the additional paragraph that speaks about our authority only exists when a quorum of community members are acting. Again, that prevents confusion as to when any one of us speaks on behalf of the committee, whether that has any authority or
Right.
not. So I just am very appreciative of how well
Right.
done this was.
Yep. That looks good. So,
I have a good question. When we say
Yes.
we receive information in our role as parents, what does that mean? Like when we receive information?
so for instance, well, you might explain this better, but for instance, if someone comes to you, like as a friend, and says, I want to talk to you about X, Y, and Z,
So
that's
not
as,
via our
right.
Dover-Sherborn people.
right, they're just, but I mean, that's the thing, like some people will just be talking to you and
Yeah.
you don't want them to assume, oh, I'm a school, so I'm going to go do something. I mean, it's, you know, that's not.
And not that you would ever do this.
No.
But if you got a phone call saying that your child, did something inappropriate or made a bad choice,
Right.
you're not going to then pick up the phone and call me. You're
Right.
instead going to call the principal or assistant principal
Right.
after.
Yes.
Yeah, and the no surprises one, we just did that recently with the, some parents reached out to me regarding the pilot of the cameras on the school buses. And so I immediately reached out
Yes.
to connect, because again, we shouldn't be solving for those problems independently.
And I think that's the thing too. I think people assume sometimes that, we're a school and so we have authority. We really don't. I mean, our authority is really in the superintendent hiring and that kind of oversight. Other than that, like things that are disciplinary in nature and those are things within the administration part of this. And so people think, oh, well, you need to, there's nothing I can do. I have zero control. I have less control here than I do at home when I ask people to put the dishes in the dishwasher. So what I'm saying, so that's kind of clearing that up. That's it. So this is your first read. If you do have any questions or if you see something later that you think, oh, well, maybe this could be said better, or I wanted to ask about this, send that to your chair, and then we can take it to Superintendent McCoy and get the answers we need, and we'll do the second read our next time we come together. Okay? All right. So the next thing is the 2026-2027 district calendar. We just survived the holidays this year. I can't even know it. Please, no.
See the start date?
Oh,
Yeah, so do you want the good news or the bad news?
See the end.
Yeah, let's
That's
go.
worse than the start date.
Yeah, so the bad news is that you have it depends on how you look at it. Okay, so I'll let you decide. This summer is going to be
Really long. I have 12 weeks to fill with camp. What's going on there?
Yeah, so Labor Day in September is as late as it possibly could be. It's Monday, September 7th. And by contract, teachers can't be asked to start work earlier than the Monday before that. So the teacher's first day is going to be Monday the 31st. The kids' first day is going to be September 2nd. You play out 181 days. And thanks to Juneteenth, we're looking at the 181st day being Monday, June 21st.
Oh,
Which means next summer. is
without
really
snow
short.
days, right?
unless you have a high school senior next year, as I do, they will be done pretty early.
You're probably not paying for all the
Oh.
days.
Okay.
Is there any wiggle room to remove any days throughout the year so that we're ending on June 17th?
Well, if we have no snow days, I mean, we could have 2 snow days and end up on the 23rd anyway.
Sure.
Yeah.
But if we had no snow days, it could be at your discretion that you would expect teachers to come in on the 21st to take care of their professional business, but perhaps students are done on the 17th.
I
Because
like
by
that
law,
better.
we have 180 days
Right.
required.
Right.
But by contract, the teachers would be expected to come in that one day and do what they need to do.
So keep that in
we
mind,
have
that the 181st day comes in play a lot. It's very helpful to have in our calendar.
If we have 5 snow days, we're at the 28th of June.
That's what Boston has every year. Boston is like all the way to the 30th every year, because they
Yeah.
always start after Labor Day.
Yeah.
Wow.
The other thing I'll point out is for those of you looking at the December break next year,
That's short.
Wow, yeah. Super short.
so for those of you who remember the 63 slides from the calendar committee, which were all also data driven.
They were.
And you were very patient with that too.
It was fantastic.
Christmas Eve says the 24th of Thursday, and Christmas Day is 25th of Friday. And I realize not everybody celebrates those, but one of the things that came out of the calendar committee was, ideally, not because of the Christian holidays, but people really want the 23rd off just to lengthen the vacation, not regardless of whether or not they celebrate Christmas.
Who are these people?
Yeah. I was gonna go the other way, Christmas Eve should be.
So here's the thing. Parents want school on the 23rd so they can finish their target runs. Teachers don't get that chance because they're babysitting your children while you're in
Yes.
target.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Also, it's cheaper to travel if you leave on the 22nd or the 23rd.
Oh, yes. Good to know that the committee's watching out for travel costs.
Except if we do take off the 23rd this year, which is your discretion, if we did have that day off, then the kids would have to come to school on Monday, June 21st. And the teachers would come the 21st and
Shop
22nd.
ahead of time.
No.
Amazon.
So are we taking a vote on the calendar, or is this?
So this is our proposal.
Well, one other thing that's not on here that we did have, I think they came to all 3 committees. We had some folks who brought up the half-day Wednesdays. When does that get loaded into the calendar?
So
It's not here yet.
Yeah, you'll see it probably at your next specific meeting. The big calendar is at your discretion, and then central office works out the early release days based on teacher professional development needs and other things happening in the schools. So that's not something you do need to vote on. But that said, Jack, thank you for bringing that up, is that we did hear from parents that it is very difficult for working families to find care if they don't use extended day for their kids on early release days. So if there could be any predictability or, that.
We're doing it on a Friday was the other suggestion.
Yeah. So
So
Do we not like doing them on Fridays? That's appealing.
we can look at that and we can, connect with the teachers union about that. I do see that would make it a lot easier for parents because you could work from home Friday or do a half day Friday and then roll right into the weekend.
Yeah, the flex schedule comes in.
I think they said Monday too, right? Or
Potentially Mondays. I wonder what attendance would be like on those half days if I don't know.
On
They're
Fridays?
ski weekends or.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean,
Travel
one,
weekends.
that's a fair point of people some people will probably use that as extra time. One difference, I know we had them on Friday in the past, and then we moved them to Wednesday at some point in the history. One thing that didn't exist when they were on Fridays before was how flexible most people have if you have office jobs now, where like Fridays still very much are like a work from home day, which it didn't matter sort of 20 years ago when we were all in the office 5 days a week. But I think that new factor for families probably comes into play and should be considered, especially commutes being so long.
And with the return to office really being anchored on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or
Exactly.
Monday through Thursday, depending on
True.
Yeah, I think Fridays, if you're gonna move it.
Like it is more helpful now than it would have been 20 years ago. Like Wednesday or Friday was the same.
I'll just say when my kids went to elementary, every Wednesday was release day.
Yes.
That's
Well, no,
Every
every
nine
this
to-
was 15.
That's insane.
is that
Every
Wayland's
Wednesday.
was like that?
Yeah.
So we've come a long way.
Yeah.
Good, yeah, and
Isn't
I
Wayland
appreciate that.
still? Isn't Wayland still like that though? Like I was.
Needham's every other Wednesday.
Yeah.
A lot of
Elsewhere.
districts are. Let's not go down.
Going back
Okay.
to
All right, so
But
going
just-
back to the 23rd, do we have data around, I know you sent out that form for people that are gonna be gone. Like, what's the percentage of people that usually are out that day anyway?
I haven't looked at it since the calendar committee. I'm happy to get back to you about that.
Just curious.
I bet you it also matters.
Like the 23rd,
I
yeah,
bet you it
the,
also matters what day of the week it falls on.
that's right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Everyone got sick this year, so it might be false data.
Well,
Yeah, seriously,
it was
everybody
only,
was-
you're only in Monday and Tuesday.
Right.
If it's 3 days, I think families tend to stick around. I will say that just anecdotally, as a parent who lives in the community, I know a lot of families did 2-week trips and took off that Monday and Tuesday.
Huh.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So, sorry. So, I work this is my first year in 5 years. I didn't work Christmas, so I don't understand the norms of corporate life. So So since COVID, has Mondays and Fridays have become understanding within the Boston area that those people usually have work from home days.
Mhm.
And then I was astounded to find out that most people get non-vacation days like Christmas to New Year's, and I've always worked those
I
days.
don't know if it's most.
Not most, that's rare.
Gotcha. So yeah. So I guess my question is, to alleviate the burden on some of these families, are most people aren't getting that 23rd anyway, and most people aren't getting.
No,
Good observation.
My husband had a call on
Okay.
Christmas Day.
All right.
So
Yeah.
But
we were in
we
the
can
midst
say, in general, Mondays and Fridays have become work from home options for.
Because I commute on Mondays and Fridays, and the parking lot
It's
is
great.
empty.
Much better.
I get front row parking on Friday.
I chose poorly, man.
Yeah.
Life choices.
But maybe going back to the calendar though, since there'll have to be a further conversation about the early release days with the unions, et cetera. I don't know if we want to do just a straw vote to see whether or not we want to go with the 180 days and try to finish on the 17th, barring any snow days.
So you wouldn't plan your calendar that way. You would accept this calendar. We wait and see how it plays out, and we'll come to you like in April once we don't.
To
We know
revote.
there's not going to happen.
Oh, to revote the final day.
Right.
Okay.
But said
Fine.
differently, you're a straw vote to understand who's leaning towards giving the 23rd as a
Sure.
day off, right?
Right. Well, no, I wasn't going to go down that path, but yes, we could do that.
And I guess the only other thing, and we just heard from Denny sort of the copy paste of this after Thanksgiving professional day, but is there any space to keep, if we wanted to think, if we're trying to get more days back in to prevent that 181st day, is that professional development flexible of doing it on half days?
I don't think you would have the same quality as that full day, unfortunately. And I believe, to Nathaniel's point, people like having that Monday to travel back.
Mm-hmm.
Do we think that's true?
I don't know.
I'm ready for my children to not be in my home on that Monday.
Yeah, but I think from the teacher's perspective, I agree, you couldn't do a day like this if you don't get a full day.
You need a full day.
Breaking it up into those chunks of half days.
Yeah.
It's tough.
And most districts have more than one full day. We only have one.
We only have one.
We're kind of unique in that.
Okay.
Is
I mean,
there
you know,
any discussion about not that Monday?
Plus one.
A lot of districts do it on election day because they have to give up the space and they can't have school anyways. But
we're not
we
that
don't,
way.
yeah.
And I think that would be hard for a lot of our teachers that have kids that are going to be.
Right, they're gonna be opposite schedules, right?
Yeah,
Sure, makes
yeah.
sense.
Doesn't seem like there's a need to
I mean, I
change
think we can look, in my opinion, and see, are we going to bump up against that anyway and have, can we get that day back? Because, I don't know, the snow's not looking so great this year, to be honest. I'm just glad I don't have a ski trip to Colorado planned because it's gonna be like 70 degrees. I mean, that's just awful.
New England's doing a better
The
job.
long range models.
Yeah.
Snowier.
Okay.
Towards the end of the month.
We're not going to predict the snow.
So,
Beth makes the call, so bar is high.
High stress. So my recommendation,
Yes, thanks, Beth, bring
to
us
decide
back.
about the 23rd. This is our current recommendation to you,
Okay.
and I would.
So this is to
Just
keep the
stick with it.
23rd as a school day.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking
Yeah,
at.
because then
And then-
otherwise we definitely push into that.
Yeah.
Cross the June bridge when we get there.
I mean,
And
I
this
think
year we went on the 23rd.
we went on the
Yeah.
23rd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not much gets done, but.
Those who were well went on the 23rd.
I know.
Those who were sick did not.
Those who weren't traveling went.
So,
Those
I
who
mean,
got
so
sick
do
didn't
we have to
travel.
vote? Yes?
Yes.
All right, so
By committee.
by committee, we have to vote. So may I have, we'll start with the region. May I have a motion to approve the 26, 27, draft of the Dover-Sherborn academic calendar. Thank you.
Kevin, motion to
Kevin?
draft?
Do I have a second? Mary, second. Any discussion? Okay. With that being said, all in favor on the region, do I need to, I guess, no, don't. Right?
No,
All right, all in favor?
we're all in person.
Okay, there we go. All right, so does Dover want to go next?
Sure. Do I have a motion to move the draft of academic calendar for 26-27 from Dover.
Kay Cook?
Thanks, Kate.
Martha Castle, seconded.
Thanks, Martha. All in favor? All right. The draft is approved from Dover.
And Sherborn School Committee.
May I have a motion to move the 26,
27.
27 calendar, sorry, forward from the Sherborn School Committee?
Mayor Padilla, so moved.
May I have a second?
Bill Alfonso, second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Very good.
Motion carries.
Okay. All right, so that's done. And we'll just see what shakes out. I don't know. There's not enough time in the day or days in the year. So now we're moving on to the proposed changes to policy ECAF. I think we can add in some more letters, which is security cameras in the schools.
I still don't understand it. But.
I know, there's so many. And what I love is we're going through and we're knocking letters off, other ones come back on. It's so crazy. So this is the second read for this. We've already read it once before, but there is a change. If you look, there is a little, the change is the little red part, school transportation vehicles, because it's not simply buses. We have those activity vans that go, et cetera. So we wanted to make sure that it encompassed those items as well.
And is that just future-proofing this, or are we placing cameras in the vans and the school, the bus?
That's future placement.
Future, yeah. We just want to have this in place because we have to vote it in. Yeah, and it allows us to put them in. So that's why we just wanted to encompass the basket, all of it. So this is our second read, and we'll vote the next time.
Nope, you'll vote
We can
tonight
vote
if you're up for it.
tonight.
I will mention, and thank you to Martha for reaching out with some of the questions that have bubbled up. So if and when you approve this, I will send an email through Parents Board, all parents, letting them know you did approve it and that we're moving forward with the 4 buses and an FAQ with some of the questions that came up. We will mention and remind parents that the buses are used K-12, so we're not just looking to keep our elementary folks in line. It's everybody that's going to be affected. Will the video be recorded or streamed? It's going to be recorded, so it's not like Jim Carnes is going to be sitting in his office watching this all day.
No, that was a concern.
Yeah,
we needed to address it, honestly.
So it's recorded on a disc. It's not on the internet, so we won't have a hacker come in and take our students'
You have
videos.
to physically remove the disc card out of the camera
Old
and
school.
view it. Yeah.
And we will only do that if there's an incident. We're not going to be watching everything or spot checking.
And they only keep it for so long, right? And then
It overrides, depending on how long your bus routes are, every 4 to 6 weeks.
Gotcha.
And the
Okay. That might be a good one, too.
Yes, yeah, and then the only people who can access the video footage are technically me and anybody I designate, which would be the principals and assistant principals. Can parents or guardians view the footage?
Have a
No.
responsibility at all as far as turning it on? Like, do they have any technical responsibility?
No, they do have an option though, where if something's happening, they can press a button and it kind of marks it. So instead of Jim having to sit there and scan the whole thing to find the incident, it'll mark it right to us.
Is there audio too, or?
There can be, so when we get to that point, that'll be an option.
It'll be part of
that
the
you can vote
policy,
on.
but not, it'll be part of the procedure, but not the policy.
Yeah, it'll be part of the financial amendment that we make to the contract. This will be an amendment to your transportation contract to install the cameras and pay for them.
And pay for them, yeah.
So those are the major questions. I don't know if anybody heard anything else that we should address as concerns.
Anybody?
Just positive feedback.
Oh, good.
I'm so excited.
I kind of like it though too, because I mean, it's to see if there's a problem, but also if it's something you weren't aware of, and then you can go back and go, oh, yeah, right, that was an issue.
So part of the pilot too is looking at placement of cameras and just figuring out like what makes sense and doing it the most cost-effective way, because every camera you add costs more money. So we're trying to be economically sound on this, but also get data that makes sense for whoever needs to review it.
Focused it in the back of the bus.
Well, some districts are focusing not only on the inside of the bus to keep our students, making good choices, but they're also doing the outside of the bus so they can catch the people who are surpassing.
Oh, that's actually, we had some near misses last
Right.
school year.
We had, when Dr. Keogh was here, we had one in Sherborn that was
bad.
I got called it, well, I didn't do it, but I just had to watch it and I was like, I mean, it was one of those horrifying moments where you're like, we were this close.
Oh.
It's awful.
Yeah, so, okay.
So we're just looking at all the different.
We're just, this is a request to change the policy so that it
You're
enables
all
you
set.
all to make those wise choices.
Right, but also because there's financial, we'll be bringing it to you for a
For a budgetary
contract, but this
consideration.
like, this gets us a little bit further in the process.
Mhm. Got it.
How long is the pilot?
How long is the pilot?
The pilot will be, it's just now getting up and running. I don't think the fourth bus, I think it just got installed,
Okay.
so, we'll have to just take a look at it. You've got this in place, then we have to work with Conley to decide what we want to do and then bring forward a proposal to you. So you'll have to approve the amendment to the contract before they can install them all on all the vehicles.
I got you.
Gotcha.
Just out of curiosity, do the buses get used by other districts or rentals or things like that?
They could go out for some extracurricular, but I think that's where they probably wouldn't have it run.
You know, because I know like we'll rent school buses for different things we do with the PMS, like we'll rent them from districts
Yeah.
or whatever, so I just
And
didn't know.
these buses definitely do like a lot of the Tri-Valley athletic
Yeah.
events, right? So they do, and they'll do field trips, but
Is it public which of the 4 buses these will be on? I mean, is it very obvious?
It's on Parent Square, it came out.
3 and 9. In Sherborn, it's
21 and 22.
21 and 22. Dover, it's 3 and 9.
Okay.
I'm sorry, it's 21 and 22.
There you go.
Rebecca, I love your attitude.
Now you can sleep
like the
on.
ADG
You can
thing in
chew
your
on.
lawn.
Was this a random
I have 2
lottery or
boys.
not?
Me too. I need a camera in my house.
We'll never tell.
All right, so we're gonna vote again by committee, right? Yeah, we have to do it by committee. So I will start with the region again. May I have a motion to approve the policy ECAF with regard to security cameras in schools, specifically with regards to school transportation vehicles as stated?
I moved.
Jeff Cassidy?
Second, Lindsay and I.
Any discussions? None? All in favor? Okay, let's move to Dover.
Right, do I have a motion to move the proposal of the policy of ECAF in regard of security cameras in schools?
Kay Cook? So moved.
Okay, do I have a
Martha
second?
Castle seconded.
Thank you, Martha. Any discussions? All in favor? Motion. Okay.
Sorry, I got this time. May I have a motion to approve the updated policy ECAF with regards to the presence of security cameras in schools from the Sherman School Committee?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? No. All in favor? Motion carries.
And just for your assurance, just like we're the last to the party for curriculum coordinators, we're also one of the last districts to the party for buses and cameras.
Yeah.
So it's been vetted.
Yeah, it is.
Not that bold, is that what we're saying?
That was actually a shocker, yeah. So there's only like, I think there were like, out of Conley, I think we're one of the last two.
Really?
Okay.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's time.
But a lot of recent, like, just recently, it wasn't like we've been dark ages.
I see legality.
All right, so the last thing is a consent item to approve the joint school committee minutes from September 9th of 2025. I was not here, so I'm going to assume that these are all correct. If anybody saw anything that is not correct, they want to make it on the record? No? Okay, so we can do this all as a group, can't we? No, we still have to do this? So we can do this, okay. So do I have a motion from the region to approve the joint school committee minutes?
Jeff Cassidy moved.
And a second? Mary second. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay. All right, go on to Dover.
Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from joint school committee of September 9th of 2025?
Kay Cook, so moved.
Martha Castle seconded.
Thank you. Any discussions? All in favor? Motion carried.
And I have a motion to approve the joint school committee meetings minutes from September 2025 from the Sherman School Committee. May I have a second? Okay, second. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries.
Okay, and the other things that are in there are the informational items. What is the summary of the proposed FY27 budgets? Anything you want to
No, just keep in mind some of the numbers look a little funny because of the out-of-district
Mhm.
change in accounting, which we've been getting a lot of questions from the two towns, so we'll continue to just talk about that, but just keep in mind, if you look at in totality, there's no change, it's just where it's sitting and a little bit of accounting change for Dover because of how they handle circuit breaker. So you get those questions.
I'm just gonna point back to you, Don.
Like I talk about it on ad nauseum right now, but as you can see, we're this is version 1.0. We're at basically they're all around 5% if you disregard the out of district, and we're going to work with what we have to both give some financial relief to the towns as well as meet some of our goals. At least on the region side, keep in mind, we still have the governor's budget, we have Chapter 70 more, we have some more revenue funds that can come in to help the towns. As you know, we'll be evaluating everything, so your February meeting should get version 2.0, but I wouldn't put it out of the realm of possibility that March you're going to see a version 3.0.
Wow.
So Dawn has her list going of all possible pennies, and I have my list. I can't wait to sit down and compare them.
And I have to make my obligatory question. Still no changes, like we're not relying on federal funds for anything, or?
No, as you know, the biggest grant we rely on is our special ed grant, and for some EA positions, we're fortunate that we don't heavily rely, but I think from the indications I've seen in my grant talks and that Denny's seen, that the grants seem to be in place.
Oh, okay, so continuing.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I don't think any districts are feeling the anxiety about that. It's more what's going to happen at the state level.
Got it. All right, thank you.
And we're not that dependent on Chapter 70, so we're fortunate from that standpoint as well, which just puts more burden on the taxpayers, but it is what it is.
But it allows for us to keep it within our control.
Exactly.
Mhm.
One change is probably Title III, which is for English language learners, but we don't receive Title III funds because we don't have enough English language learners.
Okay.
But other districts are worried about that.
Thank you.
All right, and the other thing is the Accept and Tech annual reports. Is there anything you wanted to add?
Those are just the two collaboratives that we use to send some of our kiddos to.
Okay. And other than that, if you have any agenda items for our joint meeting in March, that's our next time together. If you would send that to your chairs. Clearly we have budget discussions at that point too. So, and other than that, do I have a motion to adjourn from the region?
I move to adjourn.
Jeff, second.
Second, Lindsay and I.
All in favor? We're not discussing that. Okay, go ahead.
Do I have a motion from Dover to adjourn the meeting?
You cook, so moved.
Okay.
Martha Cass, second.
Thank you, all in favor? Thank you.
And I have a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting from the Sherborn School Committee.